On the news tonight, Anambra State government plans to extend removal of illegal structures beyond Onitsha. Anambra State Assembly holds valedictory session for deceased member Okoye. Bread makers to begin warning strike tomorrow over high cost of doing business. And from the foreign scenes, we shall tell you that Turkey threatens to launch new military operation in northern Syria. Before the news, economy and promotion of core Igbo values. Let us give you maximum support for the task ahead. You're welcome to the news. My name is Uche Chukwu Ebonam. The government of Anambra State has announced plans to remove illegal structures defacing the environment beyond Onitsha to other parts of the state in the coming weeks. This was part of resolutions at the Anambra State Executive Council meeting held at Government House, Oka. Ejike Abana has details.
According to a post-ANSEC release by the Commissioner for Information, Sir Paul Nwosu, land belonging to many community secondary and primary schools have been massively encroached on by some host communities and developers, which he said is unacceptable, stressing that government is seriously looking to recover the portions of land. The release added that as part of measures to achieve this within the ambits of the law, government is seeking to quickly amend land laws so that land grabbing will be criminalized. He further noted that as a responsive government, ANSEC has set up a committee to review payment claims by contractors of the previous administration to ascertain if the contracts were awarded in line with due process and if they were completed or not, among others. According to the release, the Anambra State Finance Commissioner, Mr. Ifeatu Onejeme, is the chairman of the committee, while the committee has till September to complete its work. It further explained that having discovered that some native doctors provide charm with which gunmen operate, it has become necessary to enumerate and register them as practitioners and categorize them into herbalists and spiritualists, noting that while government appreciates that some of them add value to healthcare, it is also not unaware that they have helped to imbue these criminals with the daredevil confidence that has driven them into committing despicable crimes as kidnapping, extortion of ransom, beheading, among others, adding that where they are found culpable in such crimes, it will be easy to fish them out from the register. The release said that during the meeting also, a revenue committee was constituted comprising the chairman of Anambra Internal Revenue Service, Mr. Richard Madiebo, Commissioner for Market and Industry, Dr. Obinna Ngonade, Special Advisor to the Governor, Medicals and Pharmaceuticals, Dr. Godwin Nnadozie, as well as Managing Director, Information Communication Technology Agency, Mr. Chukwuemeka Abata, with the responsibility to disaggregate the various revenue waste management through the demand notices issued in order to determine where greater effort would be channeled. It also disclosed that following the last teachers' computer-based test, a total of 6,250 candidates have been shortlisted, made up of 3,250 for primary schools and 3,000 for secondary schools, and disclosed that the oral interview has been scheduled to commence on the 27th of July 2022 and will last for 2 weeks. The release explained that the interviews, which will come in batches, will hold at Igwebike Grammar School, Oka, St. John of God Secondary School, Oka, and Asobeb Headquarters, Oka. High point of the ANSEC meeting was presentation of a souvenir from the Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Sui Jianchuan, to Governor Chukwu Masoludo through the Commissioner for Culture, Entertainment and Tourism, Mr. Don Onyenji. The envoy is expected to visit Anambra State again later in October, where it is planned that he will set up a cultural center in the state. From the Government House, Oka, Ejike Abana, ABS News.
The Anambra State Governor, Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, has congratulated the Labour Party presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, who clocked 61 years on Tuesday. In a congratulatory message signed by his press secretary, Mr. Christian Aburime, Governor Soludo described Obi as a good manager of men and resources who gave his best in service to Anambra during his time in office. The governor encouraged Obi to devote the remaining part of his life in service to humanity, praying that God gives him more rewarding years ahead. Governor Chukwuma Soludo has restated the commitment of his administration to ensuring effective security of life and property across the state. The governor was speaking during a valedictory session in honor of the late member who represented Agwata Constituency 2 at the Anambra State House of Assembly, Mr. Okechukwu Okoye. The event took place at the Anambra State House of Assembly complex in Oka. Government House correspondent Emmanuel Okonkwo reports.
Governor Soludo, who was represented by his deputy, Dr. Onyeka Chukwuibezim, while commiserating with the Okoye family over the loss, assured that the murder of the late House member would be the last of his kind in the state, as his administration is poised to fight crime and criminality headlong and to ensure that perpetrators of the dastardly act are brought to book. Borrowing the words of Chinua Achebe, in Things Fall Apart, the governor regretted that things have really fallen apart in this part of the world, especially in the area of value for life, reminding the Anambra and the entire Igbo race that they are not known for killings and spilling of innocent blood. Professor Soludo, however, called on members of the State House of Assembly to give his administration maximum support to accelerate the needed solution challenges presently facing the state, including insecurity.
It's overtaking Christianity. Our people, the Igbo race, the Anambra people in particular, can do everything to save life. We are witnessing a different scourge. The governor has resolved that this is just one death too many. If this will be the last, he's already taken it to them. This is not peculiar to Anambra State, not peculiar to Nigeria. The world is witnessing a paradigm shift. For us in Anambra State, ceaseless times, Mr. Governor, say this is not the behavior of our people.
In a speech, the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Uche Okafor, described the late Mr. Okoye as one of the outspoken and articulated lawmakers in the state. According to him, his sense of humor and disposition, as well as the mastery of the rules of the House, distinguished him among his colleagues, and prayed God to grant his family the fortitude to bear the loss.
The late Honorable Okechukwu Okoye can best be described as one of the finest, outspoken and articulated lawmakers. His sense of humor and humane disposition, as well as his mastery of the rules of the House, distinguished him amongst his colleagues. He was indeed a man of the people and selfless politician. The short but eventful life of our late colleague was full of quality service to God and humanity.
Recall that the late Mr. Okoye, who hails from Isuofia in Agwata local government area, was abducted on the 15th of March this year and was gruesomely murdered thereafter by unknown gunmen. From the State House of Assembly in Oka, I am Emmanuel Okonkwo, reporting for ABS News.
Gentle soul rests in peace. Anambra State government has held its first ever maternal mortality review meeting in the state. The review, which was held at the State Ministry of Health conference room, Oka, was attended by top personnel from government-owned hospitals, missions, as well as private hospitals. Health correspondent Chibuzo Okoye reports.
Participants at the event, the State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Afamo Bidike, said that the review meeting was to ascertain the causes of death of a woman during or after delivery, as that is in the agenda of the Governor Chukwuma Soludo's health initiative of giving quality healthcare services to the Anambra. Dr. Obidike maintained that the review was not aimed at apportioning blames on anybody, rather to ensure that the state works hard to reduce maternal mortality to the barest minimum.
We want to encourage the hospitals to report, even people, not only the hospitals, to report any death that occurred of a woman during birth or immediately after birth. Our maternal mortality deaths in Anambra City, we want to reduce this drastically. So that's one of the things, this issue. And one of the ways to do it is to educate people that give the services. And we started it now, and it's going to be quarterly. People, we're educating them on what can happen, and it will help us to reduce it further. The pregnant women in the state, we want to make health care delivery in Anambra State to be safe and efficient.
The State Reproductive Health Coordinator, Dr. Ujokoye, said that the review was to give the best of services to childbearing mothers and revealed that from the data they collected from January to June 2022, there were 20 deaths in the states relating to maternal mortality.
We are doing a mortality review to find out actually why were these maternal deaths, what caused these maternal deaths, where the state government can come in, where the partners can come in, where the problems are coming from. If it's coming from the human resource, we know how to do corrective measure to that. So here we have NAHUT, COHUT, we have private hospitals like Rex Mission Hospital, we have general hospitals. There are hospitals, 9 hospitals that have keyed in their maternal deaths from January to June. So what we had from January to June in the platform was 20 maternal deaths. And so we're having a mortality review to review what caused these deaths.
In Oka, this is Chibuzo Okoye for ABS News.
Moving on, the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR, Anambra State Chapter, is seeking partnership with the Anambra Broadcasting Service, ABS, in lifting the image of the state to an enviable height. The state chairman of NIPR, Professor Angela Wammo, disclosed this when she led executive members of the chapter on a courtesy visit to the managing director of ABS, Sir Chido Obidiego, at the ABS corporate headquarters in Oka. Correspondent Emmanuel Chibata reports.
Professor Wammo, who is also the head of Mass Communication Department, Chukwuemeka Odumegwu University, Igbariam, on behalf of the chapter, congratulated Sir Chido on his appointment as managing director of the establishment and noted that having strong partnership with the ABS will aid in projecting a good image of their government. She said that the chapter and ABS are working closely on programs to sensitize the people towards supporting Professor Chukwuma Soludo's policy and to ensure that people are security conscious.
Henceforth, Nigerian Institute of Public Relations Anambra State would like to partner with him in lifting the image of the state to greater heights as a way of supporting our dear governor as part of the Soludo solution strategy. NIPR and ABS will partner and come up with maybe a seminar or a conference or a summit where we will sensitize our people, on the need to always uphold what Mr. Governor has been preaching: see something, say something, in order to be security conscious.
Responding, Sir Chido thanked the chapter for the visit, noting that public relations practitioners have major roles to play in achieving Governor Soludo's vision of a prosperous homeland. Assuring of cordial relationship with the chapter, the managing director of ABS urged them to use their offices to correct erroneous impression of people on the activities of the state government.
Mr. Governor Professor Chukwuma Soludo, who is placing emphasis on building a livable, prosperous, clean, green, secure, and smart homeland. There's a need for us, all our hands to be on deck, especially public relations practitioners who shape, and mold the opinion of people, who set the agenda, of what people discuss, especially with the state of insecurity we have, in the state, and in fact all over the country. When the governor speaks to the fact that at all times when we see something, we should say something, also do something, the public relations practitioners have a major role to play. We need this symbiotic relationship, where we work together to ensure that what goes out to the public is the real situation, because that is what the public, what the press of public relations is all about. So I want to welcome you, and our partnership would also resonate what the governor speaks about, the fact that at all times we should be part of the solution.
Other members of the executive who were part of the visit were the vice chairman of the chapter, Dr. Ikenna Umanolue, the treasurer Nnamdi Onwuzulike, and financial secretary Mrs. Jacinta Nwafo. In Oka, Emmanuel Shibata for ABS News.
Moving on to the federal scenes, bread makers have said it will begin a 4-day warning strike tomorrow to protest the unbearable costs of doing business in Nigeria. In a statement, the President, Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria, PBAN, Emmanuel Onora, said that operating a bakery in Nigeria has become near impossible, and the incessant increase in the prices of baking materials and diesel rendered the industry comatose. He added that members of his association, comprising owners, managing directors and partners of premium bakeries in Nigeria, are mostly running on huge losses, and this is no longer sustainable. He disclosed that efforts to ensure the survival of the industry led to a series of meetings with the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Abuja, FMITI, with CISA Association in the bread making industry in 2021. Honora added that the best attempts to ensure that suggestions put forward for survival of the bread-making industry has not yielded the desired result. He noted that bread is a staple food and one of the cheapest grab-and-go food that is available for both the poor and rich, reason the federal government should ensure the survival and sustainability of the industry. A Russian natural gas embargo will cause deep recessions in Hungary, Slovakia, the Czech Republic and Italy unless countries can cooperate more to share alternative supplies, the International Monetary Fund has warned. IMF researchers said in that some countries could face shortages of as much as 40% of their natural gas consumption in the event of a total cut-off of Russian gas. They added that Hungary will suffer the most economically from such an embargo, with a reduction of more than 6% in gross domestic product, while Slovakia, the Czech Republic and Italy could see GDP shrink by 5% if alternative gas supplies, including those of liquefied natural gas, are impeded from flowing freely to where they are needed. The IMF researchers said European infrastructure and global supply have coped so far with a 60% drop in Russian gas delivery since June 2021. Total gas consumption in the first quarter, during which Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine, triggering Western economic sanctions, was down 9% from a year earlier, and alternative supplies are being tapped, especially LNG from global markets. And from faraway Turkey, Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has renewed warnings that Ankara could launch a new military operation in northern Syria as he met his Russian and Iranian counterparts in Tehran. Erdogan, Russia's President Vladimir Putin, and Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi held a summit on Syria in the Iranian capital to resolve differences. Russia, Turkey and Iran have in recent years held talks as part of the so-called Astana peace process to end more than 11 years of conflict in the Middle Eastern country. Erdogan has said in recent months that he will soon launch a military operation targeting Kurdish fighters that Turkey considers terrorists in the cities of Tal Rafat and Manbij. The Turkish government has accused the YPG of attacking Turkish security forces in Syria. Turkey wants more help from Russia and Iran, but is capable of continuing its fight against terrorist organizations in Syria without needing any support, Erdogan said. The three leaders, who had also held bilateral talks prior to the summit, then released a joint statement that contained their agreements on Syria's future. And right on sports, President Muhammadu Buhari has commended the resilience and professionalism displayed by Nigeria's Super Falcons against the Moroccan female national football team in the second semi-final of the African Women's Cup of Nations. This is according to a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina. President Buhari is encouraged by the doggedness, resilience and professionalism of the girls who, despite playing with 2 players down before a home crowd, showed their quality and class. He also believes that great things are expected from this team, and like all Nigerians, he will be cheering them on at future outings. The Super Falcons, who were on their way to clinching the African title for the 11th time, lost to their host Morocco in the penalty knockout that ended 5-4. Before we go tonight, remember that you can follow news and program on ABS TV from many parts of the world by liking our Facebook page at ABS Radio Television. You can go on to subscribe to our YouTube channel at ABS Television Oka. Follow us on Instagram at ABS Radio TV. You can log on to our website at www.absradiotv.com. And now the main points that made the news tonight. Anambra State government is planning to extend removal of illegal structures beyond Onitsha. Anambra State Assembly has held valedictory session for deceased member Okoye. Bread makers are to begin warning strike tomorrow over high costs of doing business. And finally, we told you from the foreign scenes that Turkey has threatened to launch new military operation in northern Syria. Governor Chukwuma Soludo has come forward to the turnaround maintenance of the Anambra State economy and promotion of core Igbo values. Let's give him maximum support for the task ahead. That's all of the news tonight. My name is Uchechukwu Ebonam. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night.